To protect the world from devastation.
To unite all peoples from within our nation.
To denounce the evils of truth and love.
To extend our reach to the stars above.
Neefu.
Zingle's Artman.
Mark.
Mufasa. Cooldown timer blasts off at the speed of light.
Surrender now or prepare to fight.
Mufasa, that's right.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the very 27th episode of Cooldown Timer. Le Mufasa here is someone we actually attempted to have as a guest star about episode 8 or 9, but we had way too much candy that night and ended up having an episode entirely where we were trying to figure out where a certain song from Lugia's song from Pokemon 2000, the movie, where that came from. It was just a bad night. So today we have him back to try to guest star and see how it actually goes this time. So everybody, yay, Le Mufasa.
Yay!
This is the Pokemon themed episode because we might as well, we've talked about it enough times over the course of...
And it's been building. And over the last week or two, it's been a lot of me bringing up something about Pokemon and then Neefu going, but this. And then we get an argument where we should just save this for the podcast.
And most of it has spawned from the fact that, so a couple weeks back we were talking about fan theories. And so we've just been on this crazy fan theory kick recently. And so Zam and I were watching a game theorist video recently. And he was presenting this theory that people in game Pokemon canon are actually Pokemon.
Dun, dun, dun!
And he walked through all kinds of Pokedex entries and book entries and whatnot that are in game, and presented, in my opinion, a fairly strong argument that, according to the information that is presented in the games, people are in fact Pokemon.
Well,
that got me.
Well, can I just put in something random since you guys already talked about this, but this just popped into my head?
Yeah, go ahead.
In one of the, and I know we've got canon issues here, but in one of the comic book series about Pokemon, no, listen to me.
Keep going.
It says in the comic books that all Pokemon are one species. They're all Pokemon. That's their species. So if people are Pokemon, and if all Pokemon are one species, then the entire Pokemon world is just a single species.
So does that mean you could mate a human with a Ditto and get another human?
You're going deep, man.
That's what she said.
Okay, so we were watching this video and it got me thinking, okay, if people are Pokemon, then you could catch a person with a Pokeball. And so that got us thinking about how they would probably have, try to explain it away. It's the technology, they just programmed the devices to not be able to catch people. But then that would mean there would you guys are familiar with how people use technology in the world.
You guys all thought Team Rocket was trying to steal Pokemon in those Pokeballs, didn't you?
Yeah,
okay,
so I've got this fan theory that there's this underground human slave trade where they use Pokeballs to transport people.
God, that would suck.
Help! I'm claustrophobic.
Even deeper than that, if humans are Pokemon, then really all Pokemon training is human trafficking.
So my little personal view on this is that there are some Pokemon that, according to the game canon, it says this Pokemon is the ghost of a human or something like that. Like Yamask, his Pokedex entry is something along the lines of each one of these carries a mask that used to be his face when he was a human. Sometimes he looks at it and cries.
God, that's depressing.
I know, I love Pokemon. It's nice and dark sometimes. But anyway, so some of the Pokemon, they basically do flat out say, this was a person once. And he made some fun points and everything, but I don't necessarily buy all that. However, I think it's more of most of these Pokemon are mammals, kind of the same. They're the same. Well,
no, and that's the thing is the way that I interpreted that argument was that Pokemon is the general term in this world for living animals.
Right. Well, okay.
It's like our word for animals.
But for instance, if you lived in the Pokemon world, would you rather eat a Tauros or a Magikarp?
Tauros. There's no meat on a Magikarp.
Dude, Magikarps are like 3 feet long.
But there's no,
Pokemon
they're
DB.
bone. They're all
If
bone.
I was in
No,
the-
they're not.
Well, let's face it. What's gonna be easier to kill?
If I was in the Pokemon world, I would be a vegetarian.
I would probably be.
But then I'd be eating Oddish. I can't win for losing.
I'm just saying I would like hunt down the rare Pokemons.
You'd just be killing legendaries and eating
So I
them.
got a Zapdos the other day. It's shocking how good it is.
That's like people eating like endangered species, you know? Like, yeah, I just had panda steaks.
Okay,
Well, like,
Oh, go
if
ahead.
a panda
Sorry.
could also like totally destroy a city with its powers.
a Magikarp is 2 feet and 11 inches long, so almost 3 feet, and weighs 22 pounds.
Of what?
Look at it.
Of ugly.
It's a ball.
Of-
It's fish.
Yeah, it's fish.
Fish are not all
you know?
bones.
Well, I was under the impression that a Magikarp was like an actual carp, and carp are like
You can still eat them.
Yeah, people eat
not
carp.
much on there. Yeah,
You know, but-
I would rather eat a Taurus than a Magikarp. That was the question.
Okay, how about this
To
one?
be honest, I'd rather have steak than carp
Could
too.
you eat the ghost Pokemon?
All right, you get no. They most of the ghost Pokemon don't have substance other than like.
Bite. Bite is a normal type attack, and ghosts are immune to normal attacks.
No, actually, Bite's dark type,
What?
and dark type is super effective against ghost. Yep.
So you could eat it if you bit it.
I'm gonna kill you with my mouth.
Just come here, Gengar.
But certain ghost type like Gengar can take physical form. Gengar actually has fur.
Delicious.
But like Haunter is completely ethereal at all times.
So you ever think there's like some guy outside the Safari Zone with like, you know, a den full of like Pokemon heads and like pelts?
Pokemon pelts, a Pokemon fur trade. Oh, this Arcanine fur will fetch me a large prices back in Lavender Town.
No, Ninetales.
Nine.
I got you a 9-tail scarf, my lady.
What were some of the other theories we were talking about? We were talking about
Wait. Before we leave this, like, can you imagine raising Pokemon and training them and leveling them for the purpose of devouring them or wearing their skin?
You mean
Okay,
like
no.
people do in real life with animals?
There is a Pokemon
Yeah, but-
ability called like thick fat. You would just teach them all that.
Fatten. Taurus used fatten.
Well, hold on, because we got a bunch of kids going out there too. So like, you just like, all right, I know you're 10 years old. Go raise some Pokemon, and you find them like 3 years later, and just take their Pokemon and eat it. So essentially, we got
Maybe that's
child
what Team
slavery
Rocket's
in there
doing.
too.
Okay, so do you guys know what Wailord is?
He's a whale.
Yeah, the
Giant
like whale.
Yeah. So maybe there's like a group of people that just go out whale lord hunting and like feed entire villages for like
Dude,
a
this is
year.
the part of Pokemon you don't see, but you know has to be there.
Okay, so like the Pokedex entries for like Magikarp and other fish Pokemon, they talk about other Pokemon eating them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, this is in the game. Like, things get eaten in that world.
Which brings us to the theory that got us onto a really long discussion. Where do the Pokedex entries come from?
I have a theory.
I have a theory.
I have a couple theories. So in the game, it pretty much says, you know, that Professor Oak wanted, or whoever your professor is, wanted to have this filled out, but never got a chance to do it, and you have to go do it for him.
Mm-hmm.
So you go out there, do it, and catching Pokemon and getting these entries, but the entries are already in there. So what we feel like is that we're just unlocking these entries, because I mean that is what we're doing. But I think in the game, what it's supposed to be doing is either you are writing these entries down yourself after you catch the Pokemon, or considering the technology level of this world and more possibly the computer is making analysis off of the Pokemon that you've captured and seeing how it lives and stuff, and then creating a Pokedex entry. Because depending on the game you have, the Pokedex entries will be different.
but then that's the thing. Like, when you look at
That's like the universal translators from that one episode we did.
but then if you look
Like,
at
how
like the
does
later
it do
games,
that?
you're given a blank Pokedex without even the original entries. Yeah, okay, I can buy you're updating it and getting a new entry. You got a new model that's, you know, that's analyzing new and different things about the creature. But why are you given a completely blank one? Is this world the
Because
technology
the
in
professors hate you.
The Pokedexes, if I remember correctly, and I could be wrong on this, I'd have to actually look it up. But if I remember correctly, when they give you the expanded Pokedexes for the other areas, they have all the Pokemon names filled in. No, maybe not.
No.
No.
That you get a blank Pokedex and you have to fill it in from scratch. This world is a world that does not share information.
That's very possible. Well, because
This
okay,
world
there's
has
also
technology like
there's-
computers and all kinds of stuff, but they are stingy. Is that the word?
Stingy.
Stingy
Well, there
with
was
the information.
there's also the fan theory about the big Pokemon War or whatever.
Oh, between our world and their world?
No, just but like, okay, so
No, like Lieutenant Surge. He fought in the
Lieutenant
wars.
Surge fought in the war. There's a lot of kids that don't have parents or don't have fathers, including you. So there's a fan theory about this big war that happened right before the start of the games. So you could argue that there was this big war, and all of these different continents are not on good terms with each other.
Well,
Well, you know what I think?
Also, man, a Pokemon war would be violent.
Yeah, pretty bad. But
Just a
you know what I
horde of
think about
terrorists.
the Pokedex thing?
Thunder smash.
go ahead.
Well, I think the only thing that makes sense in my head, that seems most plausible to me, is that people have been writing down stuff about Pokemon. But the whole point of the Pokedex is to actually say, okay, someone said, yeah, there's this cool bull Pokemon named Taurus, and they wrote all these notes about it. Go make sure it exists. You need to have one. And let the Pokedex scan
How many
it.
times do they need people to do that?
As many
Well, here's
times
the
as
thing,
makes
though,
money.
is that each new area,
We get that the Pokemon exists. 8 other trainers have confirmed it already.
They could have been in
well, okay.
Dittos. Impostering.
Maybe the Pokedex is like a new thing per region.
It
Like,
is because
simultaneous
each new area, it's
creation.
always just like, oh, this is my version of the Pokedex based off of so and so's Pokedex or whatever.
So it's a bunch of tree-named professors trying to one-up the last tree-named professor.
Exactly.
One up, Oak. Yeah.
By the way, interesting little
Rowan.
fact.
Hemlock. Wasn't there a hemlock?
No, I don't think so.
No. Look it up. Okay, now I'm telling you to look it up. Look up Professor Hemlock.
I did hear a theory about Pokemon Wars where you know how they have like the rat type Pokemon or fish type Pokemon, but they don't have rats or fish.
Yeah.
So their theory was the Pokemon world like somehow came into contact with our world, and there was that whole war thing, and then that's how they got the whole rats and fish.
You were
and
thinking Sycamore, I think.
I think I was thinking Sycamore.
when will they have a Professor Hyacinth? That's a
Well-
flower. Never mind.
This interesting little Professor Oak tidbit. Famous actor Robin Williams is a huge fan of Pokemon and has said that if they ever made a movie, he would like to play Professor Oak.
I'd be so down with
I would
that.
love that.
I think he's a huge. Isn't
Except
he a huge
he's-
Nintendo fan?
He's not Professor Oak.
No, he's not. But
Professor Oak is serious.
But isn't he like just a huge Nintendo fan in general? He like named his daughter Zelda and everything.
Yeah, he's a big nerd. He likes anime and
didn't know
Nintendo.
this.
Yeah.
But okay, so how many Pokedexes are there in the game canon?
There are two per game.
Two?
And that is all that exists.
that we know of
That
for,
we know
sure
of for sure.
exist.
Wait, why are there?
They never
So-
talk
I
about.
see.
It's not like in the anime where everyone has one. It's an ID card. They never mention that.
But that makes so much more sense. The anime version makes so much more sense.
Oh, I agree
Oh, it
absolutely
does.
because in the game, I mean, if you look at it, each of these people who gets one of these rare Pokedexes ends up having to save the world from a scary team of criminals that steal Pokemon.
So the
And
question.
they're 10.
So the question is: are the Pokemon games all taking place in the same reality? Because I mean, yeah, there is a kid who saves the world.
Gold and Silver, the blue and red version main player character is the leader or is the champion of the Elite Four.
Yeah, I remember
In
that.
which one?
And Gold and
in
Silver.
Gold and Silver.
Yes,
thought
but
he
none
was
of the
on
other
Mount
ones
Moon.
connect like that.
Well, So would like green be an alternate
So-
universe red blue?
It's possible. Well, and like you've also got like Heart Gold, Soul Silver.
Yeah, that's like a whole new continuity. Continuity.
Continuity.
A new fantastic point of view.
Well, okay, so like how far do you want to take that each game takes place in a different reality theory?
Well, I don't know. Like, if you're gonna complain about the fact that that a kid who has a Pokedex saves the world in each one,
Well, I'm not complaining about it. I'm just pointing it out that device has a lot of weight.
how do we know it has anything to do with the device?
It's a coincidence, or it's just a big ruse put on by the powers that be to try to
Maybe
sell.
it's like a
it's-
Matrix type thing.
Maybe it's the professors. Maybe the professors see someone and they because they obviously have some kind of a connection. I mean, they're all named after trees.
Someone that just happens to be growing up in the small town where they have their laboratory.
Not all the games are like that.
Like, do they seek these people out when they're like babies and say, "This is the chosen one. I'm gonna make my laboratory here."
genetically
Yes,
raised children.
Maybe it's just like this kid, based on all these things, is going to be the very best, like no one ever was since
because
Red.
they have daddy issues.
And conveniently,
Dad's dead.
He's the one that killed their dads.
conveniently, their house is right next to my laboratory. I would hate to look far for the very best one.
How do we know how long? Well, first off, not all the games, the laboratories are in the same town, and
the first, at least the first 3 generations.
yeah,
it
in
is.
Gen 4, for instance, Professor Rowan is just at the town. His laboratory's in the next town over. However, how do we know how long? How do we know how long those laboratories have been there? Maybe he built them there to see this child. This sounds really creepy.
Conspiracy.
It's a
if he is
conspiracy.
It's a
the father?
professor conspiracy.
But maybe all of the different teams are connected as well.
Yeah.
And their battle. That's actually kind of like this theory.
Oh, the like all the criminal teams.
All the different criminal teams are actually teamed together. And they have some big overarching plot, and then the professors are the ones they're the Gandalfs of this world trying to save it.
There's
No.
one theory.
It could be even more sinister. Maybe the professors. Okay, if humans are Pokemon, let's just take that for a second. Then maybe the professors, because they do experiments on Pokemon, experimented on you as a child to make you the perfect Pokemon trainer. And have been crafting a series of elaborate lies and
Mewtwo is
illusions around
actually
you
your
to make you
failed
think
brother.
everything's normal.
Well, no, but then we so we
But then you
have
have your
this
rivals.
series of these series of professors that are attempting to save the world from this conspiracy of, you know, all these teams by genetically altering these people, and by also
Your
giving-
character is the good Mewtwo.
but your
Mewtwo's
character
not
also
inherently
has
bad.
access to a tear in the space-time continuum that allows them to trade Pokemon with people behind the veil.
BioShock Infinity.
This just got all Lego movie
Because-
on us.
Because there are, quote, realities or versions of the Pokemon game world where multiple Mewtwo's exist.
Yes, but there's only one Mewtwo per world unless they found some willing Ditto somewhere.
Rocky.
No, I think I like this theory because Gary was the first attempt. Your rival is the first attempt to make the perfect one, and it's failed, and that's why he hates you.
He's become overly cocky.
Well, and like, so it's got to be like the professor's not 100% sure that it's going to be
So he's
you.
more Dumbledore. So he withholding important information.
Well, yeah, because okay, so in each game you have either rivals or friends that go with you, and you all get Pokedexes. And so there are more than one per game, actually, and I think in like in Black and White.
Let's go.
And Black and White 2, I think that there's 4 friends with you or something like that all get Pokedexes. So it's clear that it's not set up as far as like it has to be a rival. There's always a rival. There's always a hero. There's always a Victory Road or something like that. It doesn't have to be like that. It's more based around the people that he's found. And so sometimes they get along, sometimes they don't. But one of these people is destined to save the world.
You know what I just love about the criminal organizations in this game, though? They get thwarted by children. Like, they're the most incompetent people in the world.
Well, that's what you get when you only run around with 2 Pokemon and try to take on the world.
Well, you know, and that's the other thing though is like
2 Pokemon party.
is like
Nidoran, go!
Nidoran female.
Rattata, go!
What's with all the rat-a-tat?
I like things with
But
teeth.
yeah, no, that's the thing. Only you and your rival actually have full teams, and I think the Elite Four,
Elite
maybe.
Four has a full team.
Not always.
But it's like,
The elitist.
but it's like you and your rival are the only ones with full teams because you're genetically superior to everyone else.
Yeah, like, and that is like definitely part of it, because it is weird that not everyone has a full team and stuff, and
Maybe they don't
that-
have time to play on their Game Boys.
I mean,
So how do we explain the fact that these people who are these gym leaders who are supposed to be very powerful, strong people are stupid enough to have a single element party.
Well,
That's stupid.
That's the thing, though, is that the gyms, though, they are there to
That's tradition.
be markers for where, how someone can get into the Pokemon League. You have to have a gym, and if you had an unstoppable team that's good against everything, that's the elite. Even the Elite Four have typing, but a lot of times it'll be like, "Oh, I'm ground type. Ha, ground type's weak to water. Uses electric type."
Well,
How-
I think maybe it's to make sure you have like a rounded out team, because I mean, you have ground, water. I mean, not all of your
That would
Pokemon
force
are
the
going to be
player
good.
to, or the the people to
So,
have.
like, if you're going to go to face the Elite Four, you gotta, diversify.
And my other theory is that there are more than the gyms that you have to go to. And I mean, that's just more of a world theory than anything else.
Here's there are. In
Well,
all the
there's that
other-
fighting gym, so that's one.
But I mean,
least.
like other officially sanctioned gyms, I feel like you just have to get 8 gym badges.
Here's a question.
What does Lapras taste like?
So what happens? Okay, so you know how after you beat the Elite Four, you get the credits that roll, and then you can continue playing again. What happens during that period of time where the credits are rolling that makes it so you are no longer the champion anymore? Like, I don't know. Like, I always wonder why.
You are the
can't-
champion.
No, you're not. Gary is when you go back there, or your rival is.
Oh.
You are never the champion when you go to the
You could be right.
something happens during that like those 3 minutes that you're watching the credits.
Every time Gary becomes champion, the character just comes by hey, Gary!
I just became champion.
Damn
Battle.
it! Ash, you jerk!
Pokemon.
Every couple days, I just go back, beat the Elite Four, just to mess with them.
Okay, here's another question. All right. Who runs this dang government? Are the Elite Four in charge of everything?
I believe it's sort of like a city-state thing, where like each town is in charge of itself.
I'd say that's actually probably.
Well, we never meet authority figures besides
But
Officer
Officer
Jenny, I
Jenny.
guess.
that's
Officer
TV
Jenny
show,
is
so,
anime, yeah.
But they do have
we
police
gotta,
officers.
there are police, like there are those times. I remember times where they would like block off a road or
Yeah.
something because something. Well, I mean, it was just.
Well, and then you
artificial
also
progress
have,
hindering, but-
okay, so you have those weird tunnels you have to go through in between areas where they've got like the desk with the lady that sits there that you never talk to because they never say anything interesting. That could definitely be part of it, keeping track of who's going where, kind of keeping these cities secluded. And also, you notice it's a town and then complete wilderness and then another town.
With these little kids that they just throw off into the
Which
wilderness.
has to do with the Pokemon War.
Yeah, there's no suburbs. Maybe all the towns fought each other.
Ooh. Kind of like ancient Greeks, except
Well,
with
I don't know, because I mean, it
dragons.
could definitely, it would definitely make sense if each continent kind of allied themselves and fought the other continents, because I mean, they are all getting along for the most part.
Or they've just, adopted a huge isolation policy within each city.
Is a Missing No a failed Mewtwo?
No, it's a legend. It's technically like an old ancient Pokemon kind of thing. Also, a couple things. So if
It's a glitch.
if
Well, yes, I
don't
know it's a
exist.
glitch, but
Missing No. I thought you said something else for some reason. Okay, so if we have all these different nations that aren't communicating with each other at all, then we have all of these professors. One in
That
each of
aren't
these different-
united?
that are
Like
united.
we may need to unite the
and
people
sharing-
within our nation?
Yes, and are sharing their technology with the other professors.
What if the professors run everything?
Oh my gosh. That's what Team Rocket wants to do. Team Rocket wants to unite all the towns into one nation.
the professors were the fragments of what was left of Team Rocket after it falls apart when you beat Giovanni.
Well,
Because you're 10 years
problem is though with that is that like you've still got we still got Professor Oak in that one, and all the other professors are kind of old. And,
just because Oak was in that one, the rest could have. Well, did Rocket have any scientists? Because weren't they like making a Sylph scope or something?
Yeah,
Were
they were
Yeah.
making Sylph scopes and capturing ghost Pokemon.
So they
to kill
had
Mewtwo.
scientists.
No, they stole the
okay.
Sylph Scope,
yeah,
didn't
from
they?
Sylph Co.
Thanks, baby.
Trying to connect some pieces here, but I don't know the pieces that I'm trying to connect.
We've gotten a surprising amount of juice out of this topic.
I know, right? We're almost done with the episode.
So,
Got a couple more minutes.
biggest question is, what would Pikachu taste like? Because I'm kind of stuck on. Like,
Ever had
Pokemon.
rat?
Gosh, yeah, electric rat.
Also, would fire Pokemon be spicy?
I think so. No, they'd be hot, but not spicy.
How many Charmanders die during rainstorms?
I know. Right?
Do you just have like herds of Charmanders running around in the forest?
I kind of want to see
I
someone
don't.
punch a
They
Charizard.
would burn down the forest.
Also, okay, so, we got the anime, which I think, at least I am not considering canon for this conversation. This is all based on game stuff.
Sure.
And in the anime, Ash gets electrocuted and burned, and people get hit with Scyther's scythes, and it's all fine because it's a funny little kid's show. But Pokemon,
If people are Pokemon,
well, I mean, like in the actual games, they don't really ever say that this fire won't kill you. It's fire.
No, Neefu's right. This is more support for the people are Pokemon thesis because they don't die from all this crazy stuff, just like Pokemon. Just get knocked unconscious.
But Pokemon do die. They have the Pokemon graveyard.
They have the Pokemon graveyard, legendaries.
Cubone's mask.
I know.
yeah,
I know,
Cubone's
but-
mask.
But Pokemon are tough.
morbid is
all
it?
right? We don't question that Pokemon can get struck by lightning and flamethrower to just be knocked out. So if people are Pokemon, that explains why they're so durable in the anime too.
Yeah, but the anime has no precedence on the game.
No, we're taking this is a new
Also,
tangent.
Nurse Joy is obviously an evolved form of Chansey. That's why they all look the same.
Or, well, yeah, no. So
And that explains
so
why
okay,
Officer
so you
Jenny's
got,
all look the
exactly.
same.
So we got we got a branch of people Pokemon where they all look the same, but then that makes you wonder how are there. Do you have a doppelganger somewhere else in the world?
It's called Gengar. That's why he's called Gengar. It comes from doppelganger.
Oh, ha 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 ha. And, well, where does the dream world fit into this?
Nope, I've got it. The reason I've got everything. The reason there are different continents. So once upon a time, people were Pokemon. Blah 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 blah. There is now one of each person on each continent, keeping them separated. The only connections are the professors who are trying to bring everything back together, and Team Rocket, the teams who are trying to keep everything separate the way it is.
Mind freak.
That's right. Unite the people within our nation, but not all the nations.
So how does the black and white dream world fit into this?
I never really did much with the Dream World.
Okay, so I don't know much about it either. So I was hoping
But you
that
put
you
your
might know.
Pokemon to sleep, and then they wake up in this other world, and you can play with them.
Weird.
So in what is it? It's well, I guess. So when you're connecting your games, you're not just able to trade Pokemon. You can actually see the other people. Like for example, in Black and White, there's that little room where you can just hang out with the people you're connected with. Where does that exist? If that is somewhere in between these universes.
Okay, so if we're going with in between the universes, then why can't we astral projection? You project your bodies and your Pokemon bodies into a spiritual plane in between universes.
Well, but there
is that
you wouldn't be
weird-
able to trade physical Pokemon that way then.
It's all done with machines though, because I think it's probably is supposed to be all digital of some way or another. Because you remember when you're
Are Pokemon Digimon?
no, when you're trading Pokemon, you go into an actual physical room. The door's shut. You come up into this little room, but that room is identical no matter which room you've walked into. And there you have a separate avatar. You do not look like yourself anymore. And there you can transfer Pokemon, but the Pokemon still come out of a tube. So they're being transferred from somewhere else.
What if that's the reality and the main Pokemon games are just dreams that you are living, or like virtual reality games within the game?
What if reality, these are actually just games played on small handheld Nintendo devices?
Oh my gosh. People are Pokemon. Otherwise, how could Bill have been merged with one without his body rejecting his Pokemon parts?
What are we talking about?
When Bill fuses himself.
Bill!
I don't remember this.
He changes
It's in a
himself into a
teleporter
Pokemon.
accident.
Yeah,
And an ugly one to boot.
I don't remember this.
happened. It happened.
Happened in the first
So
game. I don't
the
know
other
if it
thing are
happened
what
in
are
any other games.
what are legendaries?
They're
I think
just
they're
awesome Pokemon.
They're like extinct
Duh.
Pokemon, like
Some of them are kind of along the lines of gods.
Well, there is the one that
Arceus or whatever
yeah,
his name
that
is.
is
Yeah.
like with like the legendary creator of the world.
and he still gets captured by a 10-year-old boy.
Oh, that one's really hard to get. Cause like you've got the main legendary that you get within like the story, and then you've got the legendaries that are like there, but you gotta really try to get them. Like the legendaries in Black and White are these like thunder, these elemental god guys. They look like genies. They ride on clouds. They are hard to get. Like they only appear in a one area at a time, kind of like the legendary dogs did in 2. But you can kind of track down where they are based on the weather and weather reports. But then they appear there once, and then if you don't catch them, they fly away.
Stupid
That was
dogs.
the worst thing.
I
like,
hated those dogs. I think I only caught like one of them.
I managed to
caught
catch all of them.
Suicune. I never caught Entei. I couldn't.
I managed to catch all of them with
I
my.
think Entei was my problem one too.
Like
Sweet Cane was always my problem one, but I figured out the best.
I only ever caught one.
You just get someone to sleep in your party in a high speed like an Alakazam or something in the front, and then you just kind of knock them down a little bit every time. Make sure that you're using False Swipe, which won't drop a Pokemon below 1 health, and then eventually you'll be able to catch them easily.
See, my problem was I had Entei down to like 2 health. I'm like, Pokeball, go! And then he'd break out and run away. And
It's because you're using a Pokeball on a legendary.
well, I meant Ultra Ball, but
Actually,
I tried heavy balls, Ultra Balls, fast balls.
the Dusk Balls are the best. As long as you're using it at night, they're better than the Ultra Ball, which is the second best next to the Master Ball. But only if it's at night or in a cave.
I hate that guy.
Any other Pokemon theories we want to discuss before we close this out?
Mew created the universe.
Oh, well, there is the one where like,
Why can Meowth talk?
Yeah, that's not game canon.
well, they actually have
So-
an episode.
Yeah.
If you're talking about the TV show, there actually is an episode where they talk, or it gives Meowth's backstory.
Pretty much he like
Oh.
trained for a while and gave up all his like ability to do Pokemon stuff in order to talk.
That explains why he's so useless.
Wah, Buffett.
Wobbuffet! Actually, have you heard the theory that the body of Wobbuffet is not the body at all, but the tail is? And that the like blue part is actually just, a buffer to prevent
yeah.
it from being hit.
I think I have, because his tail has eyes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then, okay, so then there's the other theory that I've heard that the Dittos, so in Blue and Red, when you go fight Mewtwo, he's in a cave full of Dittos, and the closer you get to Mewtwo, the closer you get to him, the more frequent the Dittos will start.
No, that's in the area where you first find out about Mewtwo, where he was actually said to be made.
Okay, yeah. So the
the
theory I've
lab.
heard is that the Dittos are actually failed Mewtwo's.
And that's a pretty big game theory. Like
Yeah.
a lot of people agree with that one. And then another one, really quick, a really popular one is that Cubone is a Kangaskhan whose mother died. And I always thought that was a really fun theory. But I've decided I don't believe that one anymore. Couple of reasons. First
Well,
off,
then where does he get the skull from?
well, first off,
Dead mother.
he's wearing a Charizard skull.
Which means whoever wrote that Pokedex entry,
Is a liar.
Well,
the one that says it's his mother's skull.
it looks more like, well, I don't know if it's a Charizard skull, but it looks, let me pull up a picture of Cubone really quick.
Because I can see it as a Kangaskhan skull. I'm pretty sure, though, canon
Okay, so, really quick.
is that was what it was supposed to be. Wasn't Kangaskhan supposed to be the final evolution of Cubone, Marowak, Kangaskhan?
I don't think so. They're different types completely. Kangaskhan is
I remember
normal.
reading that.
Cubone is
Yeah, but I think
ground.
like it was originally planned that way, and then they decided not to.
Well, really quickly though, so look at Cubone here. He's got a fairly Charizard looking
I can
skull
buy
on,
that.
And Kangaskhan has this really rounded cap on his head.
Okay.
That there's no evidence of that on this skull.
Well, then
I can buy that.
What about Marowak?
Look at the color difference here between baby Kangaskhan and Cubone.
Yeah, no, that's what.
And also, Mega Evolution, the baby gets out and looks completely different.
Yeah.
It's so cute.
I know. All right, really quick, what was the other one we were looking up? Marowak?
Marowak?
The skull changes.
Yes. The skull is clearly something that's become part of this Pokemon.
Well, hold on a sec, because, I mean, if we look at how we view dinosaurs, like, you know, that skin isn't going to be exactly, it could just be bone-colored skin over the actual skull.
Yeah, because Cubone is wearing something on his head. They say that in the Pokedex entry, but they don't say that about Marowak. Marowak, it looks like it's more part of him. So, I mean, you could definitely say that he wore the skull. It literally becomes part of him when he evolves, and then the skull that's underneath that is still that old Cubone skull he used to wear, which becomes the helmet of the Cubone, its child Cubone, when it dies.
So it's a never-ending... This is not only your mother's skull, but your great-great-great-great-great-great-grandmother's skull.
Jeez.
Also, I love Marowak and Cubone.
I just like how they just have the bones and they fight with them. No, far-fetched.
Oh, jeez.
I don't even
They're
believe
leak.
in that one. It's a whole joke because of Farfetch'd.
Oh,
Well,
I see
on
what you
that-
did there.
Pokelicious note.
Farfetch is awesome.
On that Pokelicious note, that has brought us to the end of episode 27 of Cooldown Timer. I am Neefu. You can find me on Facebook and Twitter at Straight Up Neefu. You can find me on the rest of the internet at neefu.com, where I write some things sometimes. You can find Ziggles Artman on Facebook and Twitter at Ziggles Artman. You can find Mark at thepagenebula.wordpress.com. Do you have any social media, Mufasa, man?
The Lion King.
Watch The Lion King. If you want to check out more episodes of the podcast, you can do so at cooldowntimer.com, iTunes, Stitcher, or on the Cooldown Timer YouTube channel, Cooldown Timer Podcast. We also have a bunch of cool videos up there. You should go check them out. They're fun. Go subscribe. And
Question of the week is, what's your favorite Pokemon and what's your favorite Pokemon fan theory?
you can give us your answers at the Cooldown Timer Facebook page, Cooldown Timer Podcast. I mean, it's both mostly Cooldown Timer Podcast, other than Twitter, or on the YouTube video for this episode.
Okay, everybody, we gotta do it on 3. 1, 2, 3. Cooldown timer's blasting off again.
Ding.
Cooldown Timer, yeah.